Hey guys, Eric and Kim here. I was going to say both from home, but actually, Kim, you're from the Fandom UK office right now.
I am, yeah, I'm in London.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. You just ran from an appointment. We're going to talk Black Adam here. This is going to be a non-spoiler review. So we're just going to talk about things that are in the trailers. Although I guess some might say there's a lot in the trailers. But we won't go into the heavy spoilers. We won't talk about the mid-credit scene that even the star of the movie seems to want to give away in detail. But this is a movie long in development. I was looking back because I knew it was forever, but 2006 is when Dwayne Johnson was first talking about being in Shazam. And it was 2007 when it was like, maybe he'll play Black Adam instead in the Shazam movie. And this long, long path to deciding if they'd be two separate movies, Dwayne Johnson deciding he would be Black Adam, getting the Shazam movie, and finally Black Adam is here. My quick plot synopsis is just to say that Dwayne Johnson stars as the title character, Teth Adam / Black Adam, who centuries ago there was a evil king in the country of Kahndaq who had his people enslaved, and a hero rose up, a hero with the powers of Shazam rose up to stop this king. And now centuries later, he returns. He is discovered by a woman named Adriana, discovers him. And he comes back, but the people are after him. People are after this crown of the king, and the Justice Society get involved. That is my quick overview. Kim, what did you think of the 16 years in the making Black Adam?
Well, I'm going to start with the good things because it wasn't entirely unsuccessful.
All
But
right, that's the pull quote. Wasn't entirely unsuccessful.
well, it starts and it feels like it's going to be this gritty, quite brutal um, take on it, and I was
Mhm.
quite into that. I mean, it does begin with this quite long, exposition-heavy opening sequence filling in the backstory, which I wasn't sure about, but it goes into this really quite exciting. During his resurrection, those bits were really cool. You've got some cool action sequences, the effects and stuff. But then throughout the rest of the film, it overuses that slow motion in the action, and it has the effect of robbing the action of its momentum, uh, and it's kind of just a bit eye rolly. So yeah, and I don't know. I'm going to throw it over to you for now.
Yeah, this was just kind of a whatever movie to me. Like it wasn't terrible, but it really it's a lot of stuff happens, but not enough time for any impact on it. And yeah, the beginning I was like, uh-oh, because there's so much backstory. There's a long narration over the flashbacks, which always feels like something they added in post when they realized they needed to explain a little more what's happening. And so yeah, it's like the whole movie, there's a lot of characters, a lot of events, but it's too much. It's like none of it really has an impact because it's like they're throwing so many things at you. We'll talk more about the Justice Society in a moment, but it's like, all these things that could be cool, and there is cool moments and there's some cool performances. But yeah, I also agree with you about the action. It's like there, spectacle wise, yes, it delivers some fun moments. Like it wants to sell you on the grandeur, the power of this man, and I think they do. But it does get very repetitive because there's some very, dare I say, Snyder-esque, but without quite Snyder's flair, slow-mo action that happens a lot, and it kind of beats you down after a while because it's
Mm.
not really, yeah, enough. It's not changing enough to really keep that going.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, what did you think of the Justice Society? Because that is obviously a big part of the movie as well. Is that they're bringing in this whole other team and all these other heroes.
Yeah, well, one of the things that The Rock has said a lot about this film is that it disrupts the superhero movie paradigm, and so
Mhm.
I'm watching it, looking for moments where it does that. And actually interviewed the JSA and asked them about how their characters contribute, and I can't really see how it manages to do that aside from the surface, kind of introducing this anti-hero as
Mhm.
the main character, but that's been done before as well. So So when it came to the JSA, I felt like they were trying to make them an amalgam of like the Suicide Squad, and the crew from X-Force from
Yep.
Deadpool 2, but they were not as fun or funny or interesting as any of those guys. So they kind of fell a bit flat for me, all except Dr. Fate. Now, Pierce Brosnan was what saves this movie really, in part for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I liked Aldous Hodge's performance, but it's like
Sure.
Hawkman has Hawkman, but we don't know much about Hawkman except rich guy who has this costume or not, because they don't even go into any of his backstory. And I understand that the idea would be like, well, they're just introduced in this movie, but it's like they want to have their cake and eat it too, because they do the thing of having two members, Cyclone and Atom Smasher, be the new to the team ones. Like, they'll be your eyes into this team, but it's all done so quickly that we don't have any, sort of weight around it. And I agree with you also, Pierce Brosnan is definitely a highlight of the movie, and I really like Dr. Fate. But also, there are some moments that are predicated on like a history between Hawkman and Captain Dr. Fate as like teammates and friends, and that they have worked together, but it's one of those definite just like told, not shown or felt things. Like, it's like, well, we don't have this history with them. So you're saying that they have a big bond, but we don't get time to really feel it, in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, that's interesting because particularly with Cyclone as well, they talk about her backstory, and it really makes you want to see that. And perhaps they will
Yeah,
explore it further down the line. But it was kind of a bit of a cruel tease, because it would have been cool to see some of that.
for sure. And then it is, yeah, the other thing about the whole anti-hero thing, and this is where you have to wonder about a movie that's been in development this long, and I'm sure had rewrites during production, because that's the way all these movies are made. It still feels like a movie that didn't sort of change with the times. And especially with the DCEU, this is an issue. And I worried about this from the trailers, and then the movie unfortunately did feed into that, which is to have it be so built around he is an anti-hero. He kills everyone he fights. Like, he just doesn't, it's like he never holds back. And to make that a major part of the movie, for have Hawkman be like, no, heroes don't do that. And Hawkman's trying to save the bad guys, like he wants to stop them, but save them. And Black Adam's just taking them out. The problem is in the DCEU, we've seen Superman kill, we've seen Batman kill, we've seen Wonder Woman kill, and we've had multiple movies, 2 Suicide Squad movies and Birds of Prey, built around anti-heroes who kill from like the get-go. And so it doesn't, so now he doesn't stand out. Like, to say Black Adam, oh, he's an anti-hero and he kills, well, that's most of the DCEU. So that's it's like it felt like they needed to change that, and they didn't. What did you think of that whole angle on it?
I agree. I mean, like I said, Dwayne Johnson has been talking about disrupting this paradigm and changing the hierarchy, and all well and good, bold ambition, but it just doesn't do it. This film doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I think it feels quite dated. It also reminded me of expensive 90s music videos as well. So in its flashy photography and quick cuts and stuff. So
I don't know if they
unsuccessful.
mentioned and I probably gonna mispronounce his name, I apologize. Jean-May Colette Serra is the director. He did Jungle Cruise with Dwayne Johnson. He's done a lot of movies, and movies I've really liked. I like The Shallows a lot, that he did. But yeah, just this movie seems like it is echoing too many other movies. I liked Dwayne Johnson's performance. Has Black Adam. I think he's playing it stoic. He's not doing the like, hey, I'm having fun here, Dwayne Johnson, and I think he does that well. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like different enough. Also, this movie, it's a very strange thing I realized, and I was talking to some other people. I know it's been pointed out by other people too, how much this movie feels like they pulled from Terminator 2 with the dynamic of stoic guy who kills teamed with a tough woman and her plucky son, because Adriana has a son, and who teach him to lighten up a little, say some catchphrases, and maybe not kill everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it also on the same by the same token reminded me of the Hawkeye series with Kate Bishop's relationship with him.
Yeah, I can see that too for sure. It's just it's the thing. Like Noah Centino, I hope I'm saying his name right. I actually think he's very charming as Atom Smasher. Again, not a lot to do. He's just there. But unfortunately, a lot of his stuff feels very pulled from Spider-Man and Civil War. Like the young, sort of never done this before superhero who's kind of stuck and suddenly thrown into the mix and just being like, hey guys, did I do a good job? And I'm like, he's doing, the actor's doing a good job. I've kind of seen this shtick before. And I'm not saying, again, everything, we're going to see repeats of everything. And it's always about how you do it. But unfortunately, this movie doesn't get its own vibe enough to ever like make that all coalesce. It just kind of,
yeah, and it's got an awkward sense of humor as well, and that's something that I've been a bit critical of with some of the DC EU films. The humor just doesn't feel seamless. I mean, sometimes it was quite funny. I enjoyed Kareem, who is Sarah Shahi's character, Adriana's brother.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the exchanges, particularly between Dr. Fate and Black Adam later on, were a bit cringe.
Yeah, it just doesn't really land. And lest we be accused of DC or DCEU haters, I mean, we're coming off the last movie they released was the Suicide Squad, and I love that movie.
Yeah,
and that movie was all about anti-heroes who kill and about a sense of humor, but that worked, I thought. And this one, it just doesn't click in.
I know Peacemaker's a series, but also brilliant stuff.
That was great too. Again, just there's something, this movie does feel like it's behind the times in several ways, aesthetically, but also the things they're doing. It just doesn't feel like and also, by the way, I should mention the Shazam of it all, because the movie does not the word Shazam is said many times in this movie. It's all based on the lore of Shazam. It is odd to me about how they never actually evoke that there is a character Shazam, especially because Sarah Shahi's character's son, he is a superhero fan. His room is posters of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, who are real people to him, because this is the DCU. And I was like, oh, he's never heard of Shazam, the guy who also has a lightning bolt, a cape, and the same powers. Like that seems weird.
He mentions the Flash as well, doesn't he? Because he asks, and yes, I won't say the other thing.
I know.
I don't want to make spoilers.
It's a weird thing. So I don't know. Unfortunately, I wish this movie had clicked in, but it doesn't. Let me ask you, because obviously this movie introduces a lot of characters, and here's where we'll dance around the mid-credit scene. We're not going to spoil it, even though it's so spoiled, both by actual leaks and by talent from the movie just talking about it. We won't say it, but it clearly sets up something big for the future, along with all the new characters introduced. I mean, so when we leave this movie, which we both obviously were disappointed by, were you still intrigued by what could be next, or did the movie sort of undercut that?
I was, but purely because of the mid-credits sequence. I'd like to see how they mesh. Well, how it goes forward. Yeah, I was intrigued, but purely because of that. On the film, on its own, without that, I suppose there's an element. I really liked Sarah Shahi's character, and we didn't explore. In the comic books, she's Isis, and there's more to explore there, which I'm intrigued by, and their relationship throughout the film was interesting. In our interview, she called Sarah Shahi called Adriana the Black Adam whisperer.
I love her. As we're all just say, if you haven't seen Person of Interest, everyone should watch it and see her kick ass all over that show. But it's like those kernels of like, well, I'd like to see more done with her. And I liked Aldous Hodge as Hawkman. We didn't get into any of the history of Hawkman or what really makes Hawkman interesting, though. But I feel like he could do it. And the mid-credit scene, of course, I can't help but be like, oh. But I will say it's that the DCEU has a whole. I'm not saying anything new here. The fact that it's never like all come together is the problem of getting too excited, because they've made several movies I love. I really like the Shazam movie too. It's just
Mhm.
they've never been able to make that MCU thing happen of where it all clicks in and it feels like, oh yeah, this is all well-run machine.
Mhm.
They're trying again. We know that there's turmoil and turnover happening right now at the WB lot, and we'll see as they try again. So I can't be totally psyched because I've been burnt before. But I can only hope, what we'll have next. Kim, any last thoughts, or what's your rating for this movie out of 5?
Well, my last thought, I need to get this in there. As I was watching, Black Adam floats a lot. There's a lot of just levitating, and I was thinking, why does he levitate all the time when he could just stand? And then it clicked. I went, why would you stand when you can levitate all the time?
I mean, it's true. He also, I mean, they do make a joke about they acknowledge the fact that he keeps walking through walls when there are doors. So I
Yeah.
guess that's just great. It's just like, why not?
Why not? But yeah, overall, I'm going to give it a 2
Mhm.
because I think there was promise which it didn't fulfill. It went down some routes that were ill-advised, but and because of what they've done with the mid credits, I'm intrigued to see more, and I want to see more from Adriana.
Right. I'm giving it a 2.5, even though I think we're basically at the same place, and it's a half rating apart, but is pretty much the same thoughts. Where it's just like there are glimmers in this movie that I'm like, that's cool, and there are performances I like, and I'm always, very cautious but optimistic at the moment with what they could do next with this. Yeah, this movie, yeah, I don't think it's they've certainly hyped it up a lot, but now you do feel like with how much we're talking about the mid credits, they kind of know that we kind of have to look to what's next. And yeah, so unfortunately, 16 years in the making did not work out with what we all would hope for. We can only hope the next time around it works out. The next movie they are releasing is the Shazam sequel, so I hope that's good. And I wonder if he'll mention Black Adam. We'll see. so, so those are our thoughts on Black Adam. Let us know what you thought in the comments. Thanks for everything, guys. We'll be back here with plenty more at Fandom.